Hey everybody, Colton here, and we need to talk about why the Punisher is in Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Go home!
I love Jon Bernthal's Punisher, and I am ecstatic that he is officially back and fully within the MCU. He was great in Daredevil Season 2, he was great in his own 2 seasons of his show. I'm excited for his one-shot special that should be an R-rated, 90-minute, $50 million budget theatrical movie, but I digress. So, I'm not here to bitch, I'm here to be excited because I am stoked to see the Punisher and Spider-Man on the big screen together. The tonal clash of these two characters, it is so rich and layered. And, Spider-Man, he's so hopeful and he pulls his punches and he believes that people can change. While the Punisher, he doesn't believe in, naps nor second chances. He ends problems permanently. So on paper, it feels like these two characters, they couldn't even exist in the same movie because they're so starkly different. But that is exactly why it works. That is exactly why Punisher belongs in this movie. Because right now, Spider-Man, in Spider-Man Brand New Day, Peter Parker, he is in a very specific place in life. After Spider-Man No Way Home, Peter has lost everything. He has no friends. He has no support system. No one who even knows who he is anymore. Hell, Peter doesn't really even know who he is anymore. And for the first time, being Spider-Man, it isn't just part of Peter's life. It is Peter's life. And that's where Frank comes in. Frank is what happens when you let the mask completely take over, so to speak. He doesn't wear a mask, but when you let the alter ego, the superhero persona, the vigilante persona, when you let that completely take over and there's no balance, there is no Frank Castle anymore, so to speak. There's only the Punisher. And that's the whole point, I think, of this pairing in Brand New Day between Spider-Man and Punisher. Peter right now is at a crossroads. Do I try to rediscover Peter Parker and reintroduce myself to the world as Peter Parker? Or do I just fully embrace and become 100% Spider-Man? And Frank Castle, the Punisher, he is the answer to that question taken to the absolute extreme. He's not just a team-up character. He is a warning signal for Peter Parker. And this isn't anything new. This dynamic goes all the way back to the Amazing Spider-Man 129. That's where the Punisher was first introduced. And even back then, the tension between these two was baked into the story. Punisher looks at Spider-Man and judges him. He thinks he's weak to not go that extra step. Well, Spider-Man looks at Punisher and thinks the same thing because Frank does go that extra step. Same city, same mission, but completely different philosophies. So, bringing that into a story where Peter is at his lowest point, that's not random. That's pulling directly from the DNA of these characters and from the comics. And well, we're all tired, I know, of Peter needing to learn lessons from MCU mentors like Tony, like Fury, like Strange. Punisher will arguably, I think, be the most influential character because inside that hard, brutal shell is a man who knows that he is what he is. And I think that he will be able to guide Peter to not become like him. We've seen him do something similar with Matt, with Daredevil. And I think that Frank can tell Peter that in order for there to be light, which is Spider-Man, in order for there to be that hope, there has to be that darkness that is Punisher. Punisher can never be the hero that gives the city hope, but Spider-Man can be. It kind of takes you back to that makes me think of The Dark Knight, when Batman was the hero, but he could never be viewed as the hero. They needed Gotham's light knight with Harvey Dent. And that's what we're seeing here with Punisher. He knows that he's the one that has to get down in the trenches and do the really hard decision, dirty work, so that characters like Spider-Man and Daredevil can maintain in their own psyche what it means to be a superhero, as opposed to, a more violent, ruthless type vigilante. And Punisher, in order for Punisher to be able to do what he does, and he views that as a necessary thing, he needs heroes like Spider-Man to do what he does. And for Spider-Man to do what he does, he has to have Peter Parker. The Punisher, he lost Frank Castle. That part's gone. And he's fully aware of that. He knows that he's never going back to that. But he can show Peter that that's not the path that he should take. And on the flip side, Peter will see how Bruce Banner went the path of not embracing his other half, but instead burying it. And we'll see that that's not the perfect answer either. Peter will need to find the balance between being Peter and between being Spider-Man, because in order for Peter Parker to be a true Peter Parker and for Spider-Man to be a true Spider-Man, both have to coexist. But now let's zoom out a little, okay? Because this isn't just a story decision. There's a great story in-universe reason for him to be there, but this is also very much, of course, a corporate decision. The Punisher, his rights reverted back to Marvel, and I want to say it was like 15 years ago, they reverted from 20th Century Fox back to Marvel. Then the character got tied up in the Marvel Netflix deal, and when those rights issues were all cleared up, after they canceled all those shows and were bringing them into the MCU, they planned on doing essentially this soft reboot of the Netflix world of characters, with some of the cast remaining the same and others being recast. They then pivoted and embraced the idea of making all the Netflix Marvel shows just full MCU canon, which was the right decision. And Jon Bernthal as Punisher, prior to this decision to embrace the Netflix shows, I believe he was approached, if I'm remembering this reporting correctly, he was approached before they had decided to fully embrace the older shows, and he was being approached to play a different version of the Punisher, and they weren't wanting to embrace the darker tone that we had come to expect, and he ultimately declined to join this rebooted version that Marvel had in mind, thinking that he thought that they were softening the character too much, I think. But that all changed when they pivoted back to the old style, and they're fully embracing that now. So now Punisher, he's there in the MCU. And as for Spider-Man, he is still a Sony Pictures property. We have to remember that. The movie rights belong to Sony. And part of their deal with Marvel is that they get to use MCU characters in their Spider-Man movies. Now, we've of course already seen this with Tony Stark, Nick Fury, Doctor Strange, and in this one, we're getting Bruce Banner's Hulk alongside the Punisher, of course. But what's funny is that really Bruce Banner feels like more of the cameo appearance in this movie, whereas Punisher just feels like he belongs there. He feels like he's supposed to be there because they've done so well in this trailer, giving us the feeling of Peter being truly integrated into this street level world. That they even, went as far as to show us Bruce Banner not knowing Peter Parker because he doesn't remember him, but Punisher and Spider-Man, they seem to know each other well, and they've had many run-ins since we last saw them both. They're establishing that history without having to do this huge oh, hello, I'm Spider-Man. Oh, hello, I'm the Punisher. They're just right there in a brief interaction, we're seeing, oh, these two characters know each other. We all already know enough about these characters. We can have a brief line here or there to catch us up on everything. I'm glad they're going that route. And I think it's awesome, and I think it serves the story so well, and it serves as that scratching of the itch that Sony requires in order for them to let Spider-Man be in Avengers movies. They want MCU characters in their Spider-Man movies, so it's a win-win-win-win. So while yes, Punisher showing up in Brand New Day is totally a product of corporate synergy, it's also a really great addition, and the story calls for him to be there. I can't think of a better character, really, to serve as Peter's reflection in the mirror at this really weird time in his life where he has lost everyone, including himself. Frank Castle, I think, would know a thing or two about that. And I think we are primed to get some really great and emotional exchanges between these two characters, as well as some comedy gold. And oh my god, if they show us Peter getting his shit rocked by, I don't know, the Hulk or something, and then we get a recreation of this panel from the comics where Punisher is carrying Spider-Man, sign me up, man. Now, Daredevil Born Again, Season 2, God, that is a mouthful. It comes out in a week. And in that season of the show, we're very likely going to see the Kingpin as mayor era end. And as I theorized in a video that's actually up on Screen Crush right now, I think that Fisk and Matt might both end up in prison. Fisk for, well, obvious reasons. And as for Matt, I think we see him insist that he be prosecuted for his crimes. He'll plead guilty and then represent himself during the trial and give a speech to the jury about penance, citing his Catholic roots and referencing back to the earlier seasons of the show when he would go and talk to his priest, and we'll ultimately see him get convicted. Now, remember, Spider-Man and Matt, they know each other. Matt doesn't remember who Peter Parker is, but he does know that he was Spider-Man's lawyer. Matt remembers that part. So with Matt's identity likely now being revealed as Daredevil in season 2, and once Peter gets this knowledge, we could see him visit his old lawyer / vigilante in prison and reveal to Matt that, hey, yeah, I'm Spider-Man. I know you kind of remember me, kind of don't. He could then tell Matt, what happened. And how he's Peter Parker and everything that went down in No Way Home. And then Matt will know that Peter is telling the truth because he can tell when people are lying. Now, I tell you all of this because I think Matt may be the one to tell Peter and Frank Castle, Punisher, to find each other on the outside and keep an eye out for one another in this brand new day of superheroing post the war we're about to see in Born Again Season 2. And that's another key reason that Punisher is in this movie, to serve as that glue between these projects and give the MCU that interconnectivity that we all love and that has, quite frankly, been lacking as of late and in this saga. So, yeah, that's why I think that Punisher is, a perfect choice to be in this movie. Glad he's there, and I'm very excited for his role in Brand New Day. Let me know if you are as well. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. I've been Colton Ogburn, and I'll see you next time. Bye.